Deer Shot Podcast, episode 90, deer controversy follow-up, turkey hunting success, and some more ramblings. This is your host, Caleb Simon. Isaac joins me in the studio today for this one as well. We forgot to make a mention at the beginning of this podcast that we are selling some older Wise-Eye smart cams, so if you're local and you're interested in some trail cameras that work pretty well, get a hold of us. We're closing in on episode 100, guys. That'll air on June 23rd. Episode 104, which will premiere on July 21st, will be our season 3. Lots of cool stuff coming with that. In this episode, we cover turkey seasons, opening them around the country. Dylan actually killed down in Kentucky. Our cousin Branson killed up here in Ohio during youth. We're going to be going real hard next week. We talk about some turkey law changes, how THP got in trouble for some that they didn't notice. We cover a couple states that have some changed regulations and some regulations that are a little bit strange, a little bit different. We talk about our upcoming Turkey Camp Chronicles series. We go back over the Wisconsin buck article again. As you listen to this, sometime today there's going to be a ruling made, I believe, by the Wisconsin DNR, or maybe some kind of press conference. So look for that online. We do cover it again a little bit as it is such a hot topic right now. We read off some YouTube comments. Give some conjecture on that, some thoughts and opinions. If you like these videos, please leave some feedback. We love to go back and forth with the audience, good or bad. Then we finish up with a little bit of talk about that tuna run down on Jeanette's Pier in the Outer Banks. We are actually staying literally less than half a mile from Jeanette's Pier here in August for our family vacation / shark fishing trip / shark fishing video that we do. We try to do every year, but it's been a couple years since we've done it. We're going back and doing it again. I hope you enjoyed this little introduction. We're going to start rolling this out before every podcast just to give you guys a brief synopsis of what we cover in the podcast, especially when it's a shop talk with lots of different topics. But we hope you enjoy episode 90 coming right at you. All right, guys. Welcome to the Deer Shot Podcast, presented by Siman Brothers Outdoors and the Leaky John Boat Company.
Yeah. He went and watched a movie that has a $200 million production budget, and then the next thing he watched was our video on YouTube that has a $0 production budget.
This is the first buck I've shot in over 10 years.
Your track job was the first fun track job. That kind of like, I think part of my life was influenced by that night.
Then you miss him 3 times with a rifle at 70 yards on video and the whole world to see.
Yeah, that's what Caleb did. 5 years ago, we couldn't shoot a deer at 100 yards with a slug gun. Now you're shooting turkeys at 100 yards with a shotgun.
The shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers. You can't leave it. All right, guys. Episode 90, Deer Shot Podcast. It is April 13th. This will be airing on April 14th tomorrow. We're doing a follow-up today to our last week's Hunting Controversies podcast. Got some new stuff to talk about, some old stuff to talk about. I'm joined in studio by Isaac. Kind of a small crew today.
Yep, just a twofer.
Ethan's inside dying. We just got back from a 3-day conference in Indianapolis, and then he had a wedding as well on top of that.
3-day bender.
3-day bender plus a wedding. So he's inside laying on the couch, not joining us today. But
no,
I feel good. The weather was supposed to be crap right now, but it is amazing out there.
I don't remember it being crap or being nice, but it's 50 degrees and sunny and nice.
Yeah. I might be able to get some stuff done outside for the first time. And
Caleb's been cooped up, daddy daycare, rain.
I'm shaking.
So now he's going to get in the side-by-side and drive around in circles.
Yeah, I'm just going to spend all day outside today doing a whole bunch of nothing. This is episode 90. We are closing in on episode 100, which will be on June 23rd. I think I've decided that I'm going to make that the Bigfoot episode that we've been talking about for a real long time. Yeah, it gives me a couple weeks to get a good script written and the beginning part done, and then we'll hopefully have some good weather because I want to record that one outside.
Is it a Sunday or a Saturday? I think that's a Sunday.
No, that's a Monday. They're all Mondays. Every release is always a Monday. Has been for 100.
Oh, I'm thinking when you're going episodes. To record it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll record it whenever. It's going to release on the 23rd of June. But that gives us a couple weeks to record it. Yeah, I want to do that one outside. I'm going to get the crew together, a big group of guys, at least 5 of us. I know Alex and Born Again Matt have asked to be in on that one, so they will be included.
We can do 6. We might be able to do 7 on the thing.
Yeah, that's a lot of dudes, but outside, we're going to have to look at the aesthetics on recording that outside one. Unfortunately, it might have to be unfortunately for us, fortunately for you guys, the audience, that might end up being a multiple camera angle podcast that we'll have to spend some time flipping back and forth between angles to get everyone in on it. But that's not too hard to do, actually. But
It just takes time.
it just takes more time. And then episode 104, which premieres on July 21st, will be season 3, episode 1. That'll be the beginning of the 3rd season of the Deer Shop podcast, which is kind of hard to believe that we're closing in on season 3.
And that's perfect timing to roll into us going on some trips,
Yeah.
velvet scouting.
Yeah, so that episode will premiere right before our week at the Medina County Fair, where we'll have our booth set up with Wild Time TV. We're doing that again for the 3rd year. So if you want to come up and meet us, see us, talk to Wild Time. We're going to have an educational booth on recording hunts. We're going to do a big setup, have all our gear up there, fake trees, a bunch of our deer mounts and taxidermy. And it's going to be an educational booth on, basically self-filming your hunts or even filming double, but filming your hunts from a tree stand. We'll be up there all week long. I think I might even be up there. I might be able to be there every day. So if you want to stop in and meet any of the crew, it'll be from, I believe last year they did 4 to 7 or 3 to 7, something like that. It doesn't go
every
past,
day, or was it just like Tuesday to Saturday or something?
It was every day, but it never went past 7 p.m., I believe. I think that was the time that they closed the doors. So it's an afternoon thing. If you can scoot out there after work real quick, or come see us on Saturday. I believe Saturday was a big day up there, but those details haven't been quite released yet. But we will have a booth at the Medina County Fair in the outdoor exhibit where we have for the last 2 years. Should be a lot of fun. I don't know what we want to do for that's season 3, episode 1, which will be episode 104. We'll have to come up with some kind of...
Yeah, we'll kind of be launching Deer Camp Chronicles again soon thereafter that. When is our first episode?
I mean, we haven't recorded yet. We got to go to our first episode of the Deer Camp Chronicles. Won't be till September because we got to go film.
But we'll be filming.
Velvet,
We'll be filming all the episodes, Velvet Scouting, all that.
Yep. Our first episode of that will be Kentucky. You said you're working on your Western series or video.
I already started working on it. It's going to be long. It's going to be
hate every second of it.
Hate every second of it.
It'll still end up doing just fine, like it always does.
Yeah. It'll be a good video.
We got some Family Dream Farms coming out. I'm going to do some filming on that today. Other than that, we have the shed hunting video out. If you want to watch our shed season, which was pretty boring this year, but we managed to find a few things that we were interested in. That's already released on the YouTube. But the big thing hanging over our heads right now, turkey season is coming. Turkey Camp Chronicles Season 2. We're going to start filming that here real soon. There are turkey seasons opening up around the country. Dylan actually did kill a bird already. He went down to our Kentucky farm.
Killed one yesterday.
Ethan has killed one down there in the past. That's where we've been doing all our deer hunting in Kentucky the last couple of years. I had our big deer camp last year with Born Again Matt, Next Step Outdoors Aaron. We had our big Kentucky deer camp at that farm, and Dylan killed opening day. He went down there scouting 2 days early. He scouted a bunch of public, I believe. We'll probably try to get him on the podcast next week to talk about some of this stuff if we can. Schedules are tough, obviously, as you know, but scouted a bunch of public, ended up going back to our private farm. The 4 gobblers strutted at night, went out the next morning. I believe it sounds like they pitched down in the middle of the field, just gobbled and strutted for 3 or 4 hours.
And he killed it late morning?
Yeah, I think he had to make a move. He said coyotes came in and started busting shit up, so he made a move while the coyotes were kind of holding their attention and was able to sneak off a pretty far shot, and I think he had to put a second one in him. We'll let him tell that story, but he has killed a bird, so the Siman Brothers Outdoors crew has a bird killed. I begged and pleaded for him to take cameras and stuff, and I know he did some phone scoping, and I don't know if he has a GoPro or not, but
he doesn't like filming a lot.
Yeah, we'll see what I can make out of that, if anything. Youth season is open right now. This is the second day.
Every person that I follow on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, that went out youth hunting killed a bird, I feel like.
Yeah, there's birds just being killed everywhere.
Like you open up Instagram, there's a story of a 7-year-old sitting behind a bird.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the local kids that we've seen. I know Andy Kelly's son killed a bird, not sure where. Some of the guys we follow.
Austin Hintz his son killed one.
He killed one somewhere down south.
Yeah, I don't know.
He might have killed one today or this weekend too. But our cousin Branson killed one. Branson Pavlik Outdoors. We have not had them on the podcast yet, but we have promoted their videos and stuff, and we've talked about them plenty.
I seen a GoPro in the picture, so I'm sure
yeah,
they were
yeah. I'm
filming
sure
that.
he was filming for his YouTube channel. He killed one this morning. I talked to his dad Matt for a little bit. They work. He said they worked a bird for a while, and then he said, "Oh, turkey hunting's easy." So we had a nice little jab there for when we don't kill.
Not
them this
easy
year.
for us.
But congratulations to him. We're gonna have those boys and their dad on the podcast. I decided to push it off to this fall, and it's gonna be part of one of our series for this fall. So that's a later thing that's gonna be happening. But next weekend it opens for the adults, and we'll be hitting it real hard. The weather does not look good for Saturday. 60% chance of rain, kind of cold. But Sunday weather looks good. And then I don't have all of turkey season off this year, so we're going to be just hunting when we can, when I get opportunities.
We kind of screwed ourselves on the first week because we're going to Pennsylvania for a long weekend.
Yeah, if we can, I'll be able to get up and hunt that morning, and then we'll be able to hit the road if we need to. I mean, in a perfect world, I'll shoot a bird on Saturday, and we won't worry about turkey hunting that much for the rest of the year. Film when we can, get our buddies out, try to follow some people around.
Ohio's a one-bird state.
Yeah.
The turkey hunting is a month long, and the number of gobblers is pretty limited, especially where we hunt. They may not be there, and we might not be hunting much, or they might be everywhere, and we kill a couple, and then our season's over because you can only shoot one.
I know we've talked about it a bunch on the podcast if you're a regular listener, but the turkey population here goes up and down, obviously. It never stays consistently steady in the what I would consider the good category where I'd want it to be. But there are years where there are multiple killable birds in and around the properties. There are years where there's maybe 1 or 0 killable birds in and around the properties.
Then there's years where there's 10 jakes, and then we have that problem because the 10 jakes take up all the turkey room.
And I think that is actually maybe starting to happen on the one side of our farm. We have a large group of jakes, and you know how jake gangs get together. They can kind of be bastards. But
well, no. It makes for fun hunting when you call in a bunch of jakes. But
it's easy, though, and we don't shoot jakes. The last jake that got killed, his beard is actually sitting up there somewhere. Ethan shot it. His first bird was the jake.
Little tiny beard.
4 or 5 years ago. But
before we get more into the turkey hunt, do we want to give an update on last week's thing, or do you want to wait till the end for that?
You got to be more direct.
The Wisconsin buck.
We'll get to Wisconsin now. We're going to talk about turkeys for a little bit longer.
Okay.
We'll talk about Wisconsin. If you're here to listen to our Wisconsin update, you got a little bit longer to go. Yeah. Today's not going to be a super long podcast, so you're not going to be. This ain't going to be a Joe Rogan 3-hour job. Don't worry about that. But back to what we were saying about the turkeys here. He goes up and down, just like when we talk about killing mature bucks. There is X amount of guys trying to kill turkeys. Let's say 15. With 3 or 4 gobblers, that means literally not everyone can kill a bird this spring. It's just the way it is. So,
but we were worried about youth hunters this weekend hunting around our area, and I have seen no trucks.
Yeah, and let's rephrase that so people don't get worked up. Not worried about them, but we were curious how many youth hunters were going to come in and get that first crack at the birds when there's only so many. Obviously, there's only so many that can die. So we've had it in the past where the youth hunters have come in and kind of cleaned out before we could get to the regular season, which is fine. But I haven't noticed much going on. So by the time they listen to this, it's going to be over anyways. But there's actually only, I think you only hunt till noon, so there's only an hour left. I did a lap this morning, didn't see any trucks, didn't hear any gunshots out my windows or anything, so doesn't seem like they put too much of a hurting on them in the local area.
I think the birds have been safe.
Yeah, we'll see. We have some plans for some really good turkey hunt videos coming out of that first weekend. So hopefully everything that we're trying to do lines up right and we can make some pretty good content. We wanted to touch on the fact that there's been some law changes around. I know our entire audience is not Northeast Ohio people. So if you're listening around the country, I know if you consume any hunting media, you've seen that THP, Ted, got in trouble. He was hunting, I believe it was Mississippi? Alabama.
He got a ticket.
THP
got a ticket.
Yep. The hunting public got not a poaching ticket, but they got a ticket, a wildlife violation they were unaware of a rule change in that state stating that anyone who's in the woods pursuing a turkey, whether it be the hunter or a cameraman or someone calling with them, has to all be hunting license and a valid tag. I don't
know about the tag, but they needed the hunting license.
Yes, and they didn't have it. They were unaware of the rule change. It was new. They do talk about in the video how they go through and try to, read up on all the rule changes every year. They state a lot of the states have, red lettering or bold lettering that shows the rule changes or section on changes. And somehow or another, they missed it, and they got hit with that fine, $900.
That's what the fine was?
The fine was $900 for hunting or for filming a turkey hunt or pursuing a turkey with a hunter without a turkey license.
And I know THP is huge in the industry, but that's probably a big hit for them. That's their whole turkey tags for the whole year for one of the guys, probably.
Yeah, I mean, $900, I mean, that's a pretty steep fine, and that's a pretty steep ticket. I guess the way it was presented to us on the comments, I read through a bunch of comments, and obviously THP is massive with, they're getting close to 1 million followers, so literally 10% of anyone who hunts in this country follows them on YouTube. A lot of game wardens replied and said, that's what we would call a, for lack of better terms, bullshit ticket. It's a new rule. It could be proven pretty easily, especially if you watch the footage that they have on said camera that he wasn't pursuing the turkey himself. You could have fought that. Most game wardens probably wouldn't have actually wrote it, but potentially the fact that this game warden caught someone of that stature decided to make an example of him.
Do you know how they were caught? Were they caught in the act or they caught at the truck? No, were they caught from videos?
I think there was a girl. I think the warden was female, and I think she was waiting at the truck. Okay. And I believe when they came out of the woods, maybe not specifically in pursuit of THP, but they came out of the woods. I think she realized what was happening and decided to go ahead with the fine. She knew that they probably would not fight it because it would take court costs and time out of their...
And they did decide to make a video of it, and they kind of made it like a public education piece.
Yeah, and they said that, hey, we'll pay the fine, we'll take it on the chin. It is what it is. But a lot of the they were not, THP themselves were not bashing the wardens. The comments were because a lot of guys were like, myself as a warden, even in this state, would not have wrote that ticket, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some game laws here coming up that are like...
Yeah, so that
real wishy-washy.
Yeah, so that kind of got us, that kind of put a little nugget in our brain that'd be a good little podcast topic to kind of talk about some weird turkey hunting laws or changes in turkey hunting laws. And ironically enough, as soon as that came out, South Carolina made some changes. And I know South Carolina, the Carolinas did used to be really big into turkey hunting, and I imagine they still kind of are. But this article was presented to me that South Carolina's declining bird population has a decline in the bird population, whether that be from more hunters or environmental factors, I'm not sure, but they made some changes to their laws. They've taken away the ability to reap, which is using a fan to stalk birds. You're not allowed to shoot jakes, and I didn't necessarily read how they consider a jake a jake. I'd have to. That would be.
Is it spur size? Is it beard size?
You're not going to be able to measure the spurs in the field. You can measure the beards, but I have seen lots of gobblers with tiny beards and full fans. Mm-hmm. Is it a full fan that's required? So does the turkey have to strut? I don't know what the line is for that, but it'd be interesting if I read farther.
I know we're going to read about PA's laws here in a second, but I did read they have some specific stuff in their regulations saying what constitutes a turkey that they're allowed to shoot, and it has to have a visible beard.
That's Ohio.
So same as Ohio.
Same as Ohio.
They say you're allowed to shoot bearded hens, but in the regulations it says they strongly discourage it.
Ohio is basically the same way. We are allowed to shoot bearded hens, but it's frowned upon. And I would not shoot a bearded hen. 99 times I go into the woods, I'm not going to shoot a bearded hen, even given an opportunity. And we've had opportunities.
Yeah, I don't think...
There's a couple hens around this year on our farm that I might shoot.
But they don't have beards.
Not that we've seen. But
we'll
get more into that once we bring our turkey hunting content out. But in South Carolina, where those rules came into play, you're allowed to fan, though. So you're allowed to use a turkey fan to decoy birds. You just can't be moving behind it.
To stop.
You looked up Pennsylvania's laws because we do plenty of turkey hunting in Pennsylvania.
And I looked up these laws before. I actually looked up these laws in a tree stand when I was hunting, because I was hunting in the fall, and you're allowed to shoot a gobbler in the fall when you're deer hunting. You're allowed to shoot it from a tree stand.
Yeah, because if you buy
but you have to call the turkey in.
Yeah, no. What's the word that I'm looking for? You're not allowed to.
In the regulations,
you're not allowed to ambush them.
It specifically says you cannot stalk or ambush turkeys.
Yep.
So if I'm sitting in my deer stand and I see turkeys, if I mouth call at them and they come in and shoot them, I guess I'm allowed to shoot them.
Right.
But that's why I looked up these PA laws, because they're real weird.
It's funny because here we do the way that me and you hunt turkeys, when we hunt turkeys together, we use a combination of all things. Mm-hmm. We definitely are more a fan of calling, but we're going to use ambush and stalking techniques with our calling.
And probably half the birds we've killed, we've called and located them, they've hung up, or they, backed off, and we were able to ambush them.
Right.
And kill them.
Yep. Yeah. In Pennsylvania, that's not legal. You need to be stationary and bring them to you.
It doesn't specifically say that. It just says you cannot ambush or stalk them, and you have to call them in.
Yeah.
And another weird thing about Pennsylvania is, well, for one, you can't do any reaping because that's the ambushing.
Yep.
And you cannot make or use natural blinds.
That's one that probably a lot of people don't know.
Which is strange.
But obviously, all these laws in Pennsylvania are put in place for your individual safety. Mm-hmm. They don't want you to create a perfect natural blind and then get shot. Yeah, because it happens often. Getting shot happens often in the turkey woods, unfortunately, because there's a lot of fucking dickwads out there.
It says you're allowed to use artificial blinds, but they have to encompass you on all sides.
Yeah.
So you can't use like one of those mirror things. You can't use like a little stake-up blind. If you're using a blind in Pennsylvania, it has to encompass all sides of you. You have to be fully enclosed.
I wonder the legality of the blind we put around our tripods for the cameras.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because that blind does go all the way around the tripod itself.
But
we're not using it to hide ourselves in theory.
We're using that to cam and THP for that matter too.
Yeah, that's a strange one. That's a weird. There's like a weird interpretation there.
Yeah, I don't know if you go back and watch. I know THP doesn't always say the state they're in, but they do like to use little natural blinds. So if you go back and watch their old videos, you may be able to find them breaking the law. Possibly.
Is it so? Like you're not allowed to use natural. Am I allowed to hide behind a bush?
You are allowed to hide behind a bush. You're not allowed to manipulate the bush so you cannot break a stick and stick it in the ground in front of you. That's what is against the law, and it specifically says that in the regulations.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. You're also not allowed to use a turkey fan.
The onus needs to be on us hunters to just not shoot each other. I don't know how you mistake a gobbler for a human, but it still happens every single year.
I just seen an Instagram video. Dude, I think he was in his truck talking. He's got a BB in his head that's all swollen up, and he's got blood coming out of his nose.
I saw
that happened this year somewhere down south, I would assume. And he said, so in that video, he said, this is going to lean into something else, that he was shot with like a bird shot. So they weren't using a proper turkey
TSS would have killed that motherfucker.
That's what I was going to bring up. With TSS now, I know we talk about it in our introduction to the podcast, how you can shoot a turkey at 100 yards.
Yeah.
Because that TSS retains so much power, we are going to see turkey hunters getting killed now.
Yeah, and we talked about this. I think we did actually talk about this last year in the podcast. When you've hit 90 episodes, you start to kind of run together.
Yeah.
But it penetrates. That's an issue. Like this guy that got shot with the bird shot. Your turkey vest and some shit in front of you is gonna deter bird shot.
Yeah, and if you're 80 yards away and you shoot someone with bird shot, it's just gonna stick under the skin.
Yes, and it gets worse obviously if you're using number 4 shot nitro magnums like I do. That's gonna cause some serious damage at close range. 50 to 60 yards, better chance of survival. But TSS inside 50 yards, it's going through you. So
it's like getting
your spinal column, your brain, all these things, your heart, lung, liver, they're going to get penetrated.
The amount of penetration,
small penetration, which is going to just be a big problem. It's going to suck. You're not going to die quick. So it sucks.
It's a bad prediction, but it is going to happen. A turkey hunter is going to be killed this year because so many people are using TSS.
I love how online recently, have you noticed that like, obviously, we just got done talking about the whole fall, about crossbows, baiting, deer. Everyone's methods are different, all this different shit. Turkey hunting has some true purists that, like these Pennsylvania boys, sit down, one spot, 12 gauge, number 4 shot. If you don't call them in, they don't come in strutting goblin, I'm not even going to shoot them. Mm-hmm. If one comes in silent, I'm not even going to shoot them. There's all these purists, and man, do these purists hate these guys out there with their reaping fans shooting gobblers at 100 yards in a field with TSS. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame them. I think I'm more turkey purists because I've never killed a gobbler over, I guess I'd really have to think. I think my farthest shot I've ever had in a gobbler is probably 30 yards at the most. I I know I have attempted a few longer than that unsuccessfully. So like obviously that helped influence my thoughts on the matter, but yeah.
So
the fact of that you can now shoot turkeys at the same distance you shoot deer with a slug gun or a rifle it's problematic.
Not to bring anybody in specific up, but Leopard just posted that turkey hunting video of him shooting one in, was it Kentucky?
Yeah.
Was it last year?
Yeah, I believe so. Because
so he shot a turkey. How far was that shot? Does he say in the video?
I don't think it says.
I didn't make it all the way through
I think
the
they
video.
might say something like 50 to 60 yards, but to me it appeared farther than that. Now, obviously, filming turkey hunts, we've all done it. We know that can look a lot different.
And he was using a 28 gauge.
Yeah.
A small shotgun.
I know he caught a lot of hell online because he shot that bird at, let's just say, 60 yards, and he ran after it like last of the Mohicans. Big old man running through a wet field trying to get to this bird. And that's something that I'm not trying to pick on Leopard here, but I'm going to pick on Leopard. I don't like when you have to shoot a bird, chase it down, put a second, like we talked about, I'm that turkey purist.
I want to
Let's sit
that
down.
bird.
Let's get that bird at 20 yards gobble. Let's blow his head off. He's going to be dead. We can sit there and drink our coffee and not even have to run up to him right away because we've done that. You can find videos of us on YouTube chasing turkeys through the woods.
And
it's sloppy, and I don't like it, and I don't want to kill them that way anymore.
But it is a thing. If you take a long shot and you notice that shot is not super lethal, you may have to get up to them before they get up and run away.
We've had birds fly
They will
off.
get up and run away.
We've had to track turkeys. No one wants to do it that way. It sucks. We talked about this a couple times in our videos in the past. If you've watched any of our turkey series, our first hunts we ever filmed were turkey hunts back in 2006. So we've been filming turkey hunts for a long time. We're at the point where I'm not killing them unless they are doing exactly what I want them to do, because we can buy turkey at the store at any time.
Yeah, and
there's not that many birds around here like we talked about earlier in the podcast. So I'm not trying to just kill a bird for the sake of killing a bird because I want to kill a bird and post online with my dead turkey.
There's been lots of specific times where we could have taken that further shot. Last year, you could have taken it 2 or 3 times when Dylan was trying to shoot one with his recurve.
Yeah, I had my Remington 870 12 gauge, bird at 2 birds strutting at 30 yards, wide open, clear shot, gun on my lap. Dylan's trying to kill him with a recurve, so I let him have his shot first.
Twice.
Of course, he missed and all that, but that's part of the fun of it. We don't need to kill those birds. Could I just put that bead laying down there filming? Could I just put that bead right in the middle of that strutting bird and just blow him to hell? I could have.
And I wonder,
but that's just not the way we want it to be right now.
So I wonder if there will be law changes eventually to change that, because a 12 gauge with a 3.5-inch Magnum shooting number 5 TSSs, how lethal is that? What is the yardage?
I don't know, because I don't shoot TSS.
You could probably shoot that over 100 yards, I would assume.
Yeah.
Because people are shooting 50, 60 yards with 410s, 70 yards with 20 gauges.
Yep. I don't know.
There may be a law change in the future. Because right now, the law, especially I read Pennsylvania and Ohio's, you have to use over a 4-shot or under a 4-shot. So 4-shot is the biggest you can use.
So 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, and all the way down. TSS are normally smaller. They're like 7 and 9.
Yeah.
There's nothing limiting the TSS at all.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I love turkey hunting just as much as deer hunting. I'm becoming an old salty fud when it comes to turkey hunting. I just want to sit there and call a gobbler and kill him in a pretty way. It's nothing. It's unlike deer hunting. Your legacy is not defined by the amount of bucks on your wall with the inches and all that shit. Like I have turkey fans. We have turkey fans sitting in my basement that have not been even put together yet. That I'm like slowly working on to get up in the shop.
But there is people that have to kill one every year. Kill.
Dylan's our boy.
Dylan is our boy.
He needs to kill like 2 or 3 every year at all costs, and that's fine.
He may kill 5 or 6 this year.
Yeah, he's going to kill a lot of turkeys this year. He's going to bring the population down for sure, and that's fine. He's our boy. I hope he does. I hope we are able to get one killed on film good
with him.
Yep, or with ourselves, or with Nick, or with Matt, or with Gore.
Somebody.
There's birds down at Gore's.
You guys going out, Sal?
Yeah, I think we're going down the weekend after trout. I took it off. Forgot to tell my wife that I wasn't planning on going to trout fishing that weekend, so she did not schedule herself at work for 3 days. So I told her to just leave that weekend open so I can roam.
Cool.
We might go to Pennsylvania that weekend. It's open in Pennsylvania too. So I don't, we can choose what we want to do. We have West Virginia as well. So we got 3 places we can go. So we'll figure that out.
We'll see how turkey hunting is around here.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to make the Turkey Camp Chronicles. Hopefully I can squeeze out 4 or 5 episodes. We're going to film it the same way we did last year. High quality, just make the best turkey hunting content we can. That being said, there was a post online we were reading on the mobile hunters, back to leopards people. And I've talked to Leopard about this a bit in the day. People don't like a lot of people, especially the ones that hang out in the mobile hunter crowd, saddle hunters, public land people, the ones that are traveling around killing a lot of turkeys. They don't like polished turkey films. They don't like them. They don't want to see 120K slow or 120 frame 4K slow motion gobbling missed turkeys, beautiful strutters in a field. They don't like seeing that.
I don't know what they want to see.
They want to listen to all the calling. They want to see how the bird works at terrain, and they want to see a GoPro turkey at 30 yards, red head coming through the woods and stop and get killed. Mm-hmm. So I told Leopard, we're going to do that this year. We're going to make our polished turkey films, beautiful polished turkey films. And since we have 50 million GoPros and action cameras, I'm going to have, every time we kill a turkey, I'm going to have that entire hunt GoPro audio only, nothing fancy about it.
See if people like it.
See which one gets more views, because who knows? I mean, we're not in it for the views, but it's very interesting to me that people don't want to see high quality turkey hunting. Mm-hmm. And it's strange.
So I watch YouTube a lot. The only turkey videos that come up for me are THPs.
Yep.
But you're kind of watching
those. THPs are medium quality because some of their stuff is beautiful,
and
some of their stuff is what we're talking about.
You're kind of watching for their personality and for their story, and you just follow them all year, so you're gonna watch their turkey hunting stuff. And then like the Bomar type,
he shoots in like
like
8,000 frames
super
per second.
slow-mo, Reaper taking the head off. Like I think those are the only videos that people are watching.
Yeah, like we always talk about, we've had Brennan from The Breaking Point on. The Breaking Point does a very good job of making high quality turkey killing videos. And we don't really get no views on it.
They have for 10 years.
Yeah, and people don't really watch it. In the grand scheme of things, compared to THP or Shane Simpson or those guys, you know, Pin Hody, those guys are getting all these views filming with a potato, little GoPro. Mm-hmm. And then you have guys out there with Sony's $5,000 lenses, perfect footage. No one watches it. No one cares.
Same with like Joey's filming for the Rogue Hunts or whatever.
Yeah. Their views are, Rogue Hunts views are slightly above ours. And they're a professional outfit trying to sell their calls, doing everything. And their quality, some of their turkey hunting quality stuff
professional camera
really good.
Do all this.
But their view level is nothing.
People just don't.
That pays the bills.
Really care.
No.
I guess.
They don't. We do, but they don't.
Yeah. But that's turkey hunting. We're going to film it as normal, try to make the coolest videos we can.
Shocker for anyone listening. We're not going to change what we're doing.
Nope.
Not at all. All right, let's get to it. We're at We're roughly at the 28-minute mark for the podcast. We're going to get back into this Wisconsin buck. So last week we did a podcast, got a lot of feedback, a lot of views. It streamed well. It was our best podcast on YouTube in probably 4 months. So it did very well. I'll quickly recap the story. Dude went into the Ohio Expo or the Wisconsin Open Seasons Expo with a 312-inch buck, got it measured, entered in as a state record, non-typical.
Can you share his name yet?
I have it on here. I'm going to wait. I'm still going to wait because no one else has.
And they haven't named the buck yet.
Nobody else has shared his name yet either. So I'm going to be respectful of that.
And they haven't shared a name for the buck. Like all these big bucks get names. This one doesn't have a name because it's not legitimate.
Yeah. Right now it's just a Wisconsin show buck, I guess. So a lot of articles were coming out. What helped make the controversy even more controversial is Deer and Deer Hunting came out with these articles about it. And then a second article showing a picture of this exact replica rack on a velvet buck with an ear tag in a farm, deleted that article, put out another article stating the hunter provided location of where he killed it, signed affidavit, 2 witnesses on it, still no trophy picture showing the body, still no trail camera pictures of said deer with an identical rack. And I mentioned that there was a rack that was kind of close, but not.
I feel so sorry for the people that hunt that area because he literally
the article has a circles the public land on where he says he shot it. There's 2 possible places he said he shot it. Circled public land, lots of yada yada. I talked to Jacob Sklenner. He's one of these guys in the mobile hunter groups who's more on the pulse on stuff like this. He's more involved in the social media stuff. He's on the mobile hunters group. He lives in Wisconsin, I believe, closer to where all this went on. He said there's going to be a ruling on Monday. So the day this comes out, you're listening to this podcast sometime today. Keep an eye on Deer and Deer Hunting and the mobile hunter and the Hunting Beast and Dan Infall, any of the Wisconsin guys that live in that area. There's going to be some kind of ruling made on it either by the state or the whatever club does the scoring for Wisconsin, or Pope and Young or Boone and Crockett. It would be Boone and Crockett technically. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be some kind of ruling on it the day this podcast is released. So I'm sure they have gathered enough evidence to state clearly what the facts are going to be, which we all believe it's going to be, that this guy literally just mounted a game farm deer, waited a couple years, hoaxed it, tried to fool us all.
I wonder what you need proof-wise. So if I shoot a world record buck this year,
well, I mean, we know what we're doing if we shoot a world record buck.
we're filming.
For one, we're filming the entire fucking thing. For two, there's going to be 25 of our friends and family and other YouTubers here. For three, I'll call Eric Moore, Medina County Game Warden, and tell him, hey, I shot a world record deer or a state record deer or a 192-inch buck, and I'm going to go recover this thing with all my people, and I would really like for you to come.
Yeah.
Please come out here and help us with this.
So the way this story went, it was a firearms public land. What if you don't want to share any of this stuff? Because, I mean, the game wardens have just as loose lips as anybody else. What does Boone and Crockett require that you need? Obviously, there just needs to be some sort of proof that it was legally harvested. And if you shot it and tagged it, so what else do you need? Technically, that's all you need.
There's some comments about this I'm going to read off. I went through and copied a bunch of YouTube comments we got. There's another deer that's been making the rounds social media-wise. The former Exodus trail cameras, which is now Whitetail, WHTL. They have a new brand, and they're continuing their podcast. That one guy bought all the rights to everything. They call there's a rule for that, the intellectual property. Yeah. Regardless, they had a kid on there whose dad shot a 200-inch typical buck, I believe, with a bow 20 years ago, and sold it at a yard sale. Somehow his son, they must not have been, to be honest with you, I didn't listen to the podcast or read the stories on it because there's just so much going on. But basically, his dad got rid of said 200-inch buck that he shot, sold it at a yard sale or something. This kid then gets into hunting. This stuff becomes more important to him. He finds out his dad shot this big buck. He tracked it down at a Bass Pro Shops or something, was able to purchase it back, got it measured. It is now the state record Kansas typical 200 and some inch net. And there's a lot of people that were commenting on our video.
I think it's in the records book. It's at.
Yeah, it got the records were amended and it got added and it's official, from what I believe. A lot of people commenting on the Wisconsin buck, our video about the Wisconsin buck, the podcast, saying, what the fuck how can you just find a deer that may or may not have been your dad's, or how can you have a deer sit in your basement for 20 years and then enter it in the record books? There's zero way to vet this, just like you're saying.
But
there is no way.
There's nothing in the rules.
I mean, they're going to check the regulations and see if it was tagged in. Yep, it says right here that Joseph Peabody entered a 19-point buck on 1984.
Yeah, and that's all you need.
At Miller's gas station while drinking a Leinenkugels. Like, there's no way of vetting any of that stuff. So we just have to trust our people and have good faith.
And especially with how photos can be manipulated, videos and all that now, not to bring AI into this, but you can easily make a photo of your deer's rack on a live deer and make it look real.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a lot of
the pictures
that.
We got. We don't know if those are real of this Wisconsin buck.
Well, so the picture that we use for our thumbnail of it sitting against the in the show, that one's real because I talked Mike. Do you see Mike Mansell commented on our thing? Mike Mansell owns a Breaking Point with Brennan. He said he was there when the guy brought it in. He's like, just watch this dude carrying in 300.
And people are sitting there like, why did he bring this high fence deer in?
Yeah, like what the fuck. So, yeah, I mean that buck does exist. Obviously, I haven't seen anything that looks like AI was generated, like trail camera or trophy picture wise of said buck.
I did see a picture that Dan Infalt
posted one.
So he made this thing on his potato of his phone, I'm sure. And if you just glance at it real quick, you're like, oh, that does look real. Imagine what someone could do knows what they're doing. It's just
a grayscale of the mount.
Yeah,
like fake trail.
But imagine a deep fake of this picture.
Yeah, someone who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, crazy.
But, so it's basically in the court of public opinion. That's how this stuff's going to work from now on.
So when this podcast airs, we'll have a ruling, just so everyone knows. We will know what is happening with this deer.
It's pretty obvious what the ruling's going to be.
Yeah, I would assume so.
But unless they don't have proof, then how can they make that ruling?
The article I read stated there's 2 signed affidavits by witnesses that helped him recover the deer.
And in Wisconsin, I don't know how their tagging process is.
Party hunting.
But in Ohio, when we tag a buck, and I think we say the weapon, the time, how many points it has.
Yeah.
But some states you just tag your buck and that's it.
Yeah.
So that if he
Wisconsin allows the party hunting. So like THP, they have the videos every year. Jake is back home, like
shoots 5 deer.
There's 4 people within eyesight of each other in these box blinds.
A guy
you can fill up to like 6 buck tags. Like fuck it, just keep shooting until we got 6 bucks dead. tagging.
So if 2 years ago it shows that he shot a buck, it could have been a spike. Nobody knows better.
Yeah, so that's, obviously more to come on that. I went through and copied out a bunch of YouTube comments from that just because they're good. The first one, if you haven't noticed in this podcast today, I've been swearing a little bit more. It's not something that we necessarily advertise for our podcast.
Because of
I
this guy.
got into it with a guy on there, Rednecker Music, great name. I love it. This guy's very sophisticated, obviously. He commented last week, I just lost all respect for y'all. Cursing is just unnecessary. Luckily, one of my children didn't walk through before I shut it down do better, fellas. Speaking one way off camera is one thing, but when on camera, be humble. And me and him went back and forth. And he kind of just pissed me off because, for one, our YouTube videos, I click a box that states that they are not meant for children. Mm-hmm. So for number one, if you're watching our videos, that means your YouTube account is set up so that it won't play videos. If you're worried about your children seeing something,
it won't play our
YouTube
videos.
video will not pop up.
Yeah.
So I do click a box that says these videos are not, and I do that because guns, weapons, violence, and then sometimes we swear a lot. So those are things that they don't allow you to have children audience for, and we don't need young children watching our videos, to be honest with you. We do there's adult themes on this channel.
This is the deer shop. We talk like we're in the deer shop. If anybody has ever had a real job where they spend time around adults, there is a lot of swearing.
That is one thing that
this isn't PBS.
Yeah, that's one thing I commented to the guy. I'm like, I'm talking, when I'm in here doing my podcast with my brothers, this is a morning podcast too. So we're not even drinking. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. I'm going to talk the way I talk in my house, around my children and my wife, and at my job, in front of my parents. If that is not if you live in some world where no one ever says a bad word, for one, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
For two,
that's not real life.
For two, just stop watching right now. I apologize. Don't watch our channel.
Yeah.
Some swear words are going to bother you.
This is our platform, and we talk about what we want to talk about, and some people like listening to that.
So David Bow Crazy Baby Yak 86.
What a weird name.
That's why I enjoy watching and listening, because it's the truth and not a bunch of bullshit videos that are made up to get views. See, that guy fucking gets it.
He knows.
That guy fucking gets it. Or Piney Life. Found you guys' podcasts on my iPhone and can't get enough. I started listening while traveling for work. Keep doing what you're doing. Love to hear your take on Spook Span and his case if you decide to do another episode in the future. I don't think I really care about talking about Spook Span, but I do appreciate you listening.
If he ever comes back up in the news, we'll talk about
maybe
it.
If he does something stupid, we'll get him.
Yeah, again.
315 Rhino. More misinformation. Get your facts straight before you spread this bullshit. I don't know if he was talking about the Wisconsin buck, the fisherman, or the outfitter. So one of those three guys, this dude, 315 Rhino, is backing up. So,
and so if you comment on our videos, we always comment back.
Yeah,
we don't really get enough comments that where we can't filter through.
Yeah, and I might not comment back right away, but once a week or so, I'll get. And here's another problem. We've talked about this before in the past. My famous line. Sometimes the phone, the mobile, the desktop, the TV, all the comments don't all show up on each device. So roughly once a week, usually when I'm on Sunday night, when I'm getting ready to upload the stuff for the week and do all that, I'll go through and hit the comments section on the website on an actual hard computer and go through and reply to them. So we will get to you on all the socials eventually. Just, it might take some time.
Yeah, so if this guy's listening or watching again, tell us what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a discussion.
Yeah, 315 Rhino. Which one of these guys are you defending? Steve Brewer, 6204. Shouldn't have let it sit. This is in regards to that Kansas buck.
Yeah.
The one I was talking about. Should have let it sit in his basement. Oh, wait. Okay. In regards to this, rewind again. In regards to this Kansas buck, but we were referencing CJ Alexander and what he should have done. He should have let it sit in his basement for 10 to 20 years and then entered it. Seems to work for all these questionable deer getting in the books from people's basements without much proof of accurate harvest info, just like the recent 200-inch typical in Kansas. So he was meaning the Wisconsin buck and the CJ Alexander buck. I talked to this guy back and forth a little bit, this Steve Brewer. Basically.
Because that kind of slipped through the cracks until this came up. So maybe that story will get some more light, the Kansas buck.
Yeah, I think they're all kind of coming out at the same time, which is like, when multiple stories break at the same time, only one really gets picked up. And then I had a random comment from some guy named G. Bottomley. I hunted with a few deer clubs, and all I can say is no one has ever needed to score a buck at camp. Not sure if they even know how to. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but
that's how we do it in West Virginia.
Yeah,
we've only ever scored One buck in West Virginia. It's because it was big.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, right. And we're going to have a podcast here later. This is going to be one of those late summer, early fall, right before deer season. I'm going to bring my West Virginia 10 point. Big Chris is going to bring his West Virginia 9 point. We'll get Gore to bring his buck from last year. Mm-hmm. And I think Uncle Darren, so Gore's uncle, Big Chris's brother, has
another big one.
Another big one that was killed by Jack, who is the guy that lived over there by Aaron Olson, Next Step Outdoors, the guy I pronounced dead.
Yeah.
That used to be a main member of the camp all those years ago. He killed a nice big, I believe, also 9 points.
So we're going to compare some West Virginia bucks.
So we'll bring those 4 biggest West Virginia bucks in here, plus the sheds off the buck I found a couple years ago, and we will measure them all, see which one is the reigning king, biggest deer West Virginia ever. The fact that maybe this deer that we had a couple years ago would have been bigger, we'll see.
Yeah, okay.
But that's going to happen. That's a future podcast. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about at the beginning, now that we're at the very end of my script here. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about in the beginning that we didn't talk about, and I should have talked about a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Selling these trail cameras.
Oh, yeah, they're all sitting here.
So if you're watching on YouTube, I have 4 Wiseye Smart Cams, the very first camera that Wiseye ever released. They work just fine. They're just a little bit outdated. I can't change the settings as good. They would work as a regular trail camera without the cell plan if you don't want to use the cell plan, but they also work with the cell plan. They're limited to 5-second videos, and they don't update the time at the end of when the time changes twice a year, they don't update automatically on that. So they cause a little bit issues there, but they send pictures perfect. The batteries last fine.
In our workflow, we've kind of outgrown them.
Yeah,
they'll work fine for somebody else.
So if someone wants these cameras, Gavin Gray from Wild Time TV said he wanted to buy one. I'm selling for $50 a piece. So theoretically, if Gavin buys the one for $50, I have 2 more or 3 more here for $50 each. If you're a local person in Medina County, you know where the deer shop is, know how to get a hold of us individually, and you want to buy these, let me know. I'm ready to offload them. I need to buy some more to send to West Virginia. We don't have any cell cameras in West Virginia right now, so I'm going to buy. And these are the dual antenna ones, so they get reception in places that are kind of hard to get reception in, and they worked in West Virginia, where we don't ever get reception. Mm-hmm. They work just fine down there. I need to buy better, newer ones that update on the go, because I can't. It really fucks with your app if your cameras don't update the time in the fall. So these cameras start taking pictures an hour after every other camera. It's a pain in the ass. But if you're looking for some cheap cameras to use either in the woods or just as regular cameras, theoretically we could just use them as regular.
And they even come with batteries in them.
Yeah, dead batteries. No memory cards though. I'll give you a strap if you want. You got to haggle with me a little bit.
Yeah.
And another thing we forgot to talk about, which would have been perfect for the opening of this podcast, is Gullett bought a thermal drone.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyler Gullett, First Ohio Booner, and then the Coyote podcast we did a couple weeks ago, he bought a thermal drone. So we're going to be able to heckle him and get some more shit on that within the next year. So now we have 2 guys that we know that run drones we'll be able to get from.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got his business set up yet, but he will be doing deer tracks this fall.
Yep. I want to end it, and we don't have to talk about it for very long because the podcast has actually gone longer than I thought it would. We've done well. So in the fishing world this week, Jeanette's Pier, which is in Nags Head?
Yeah, Outer Banks, North Carolina.
Is where we spend a lot of time.
Near and dear to our hearts, because this is the only place that we fish in the ocean, basically.
Yep, and we've done a lot of fishing down there. We're going down there this summer. Our house is within 500 yards of where this pier is that we're fishing in this summer. They had a weird situation happen where they had a run of bluefin tuna near shore. A gentleman hooked into one. He was lucky because he had the proper permits and a kayak, so he was able to kayak out, land it in the water, bring it back, which is what you're allowed to do because he had the proper permits and stuff. But the local newspapers, Outdoor Life, local fishing Facebook groups all started advertising, holy shit, bluefin tuna from shore.
Yeah, they're catching 100-pound bluefin tuna.
Yeah, 72, 75-inch bluefin tuna from shore. Very valuable fish. So people flocked down there like crazy and started trying to catch these fish. The NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration,
that's who regulates commercial tuna fishing.
Yeah, they look at the weather, biology, everything to regulate bag limits and all this stuff, because a lot of fish that migrate or move through or go state to state, so they need a national organization to kind of monitor that stuff, from what I believe. They came in hard and shut that shit down, threatened to start fining people, told them they are not allowed to advertise this fishing. You're not allowed to fish for bluefin tuna from shore. which obviously in turn caused a huge uproar amongst fishermen, locals, people vacationing that, holy hell, you're telling me if I go out there and cast a rod in the water and a bluefin tuna bites that I'm going to get fined $2,000? How can you control what is biting your bait? I see a little bit of both sides. Obviously, people that are targeting bluefin tuna are going to have special equipment, so that's what they're trying to defer you from doing.
So the law,
the big rods, the
law they were breaking was you're not allowed to fish for them from shore
and land them.
So that would be like
shore.
People like putting long lines out from shore. Like
it's a money thing. Obviously, these bluefin tuna are regulated. They're money makers. Wicked Tuna films from the Oregon Inlet and the Outer Banks where we go. That's where all these
which is 10 miles from this pier.
Yeah, which is where all these shows film the bluefin tuna fishing. It's a highly regulated thing. So from that aspect, I do understand it that they need to try and, we don't want the bluefin tuna to go extinct. On the flip side, you're telling people who are fishing off a pier on vacation in North Carolina that if they catch a certain fish, they're going to get fined. That's kind of ridiculous. Yeah. We run into the same thing with the sharks we catch down there. A lot of these species of sharks that we end up bringing in are not allowed to get out of the water either. So if you watch our videos, we wade out into the water and try to de-hook these sons of bitches, 200-pound, 6-foot-long shark while it's still swimming in the water because we're not legally allowed to land it.
And North Carolina hasn't been victim to this yet, but some states you're not allowed to fish for sharks.
Yeah, North Carolina
Maryland,
has
like some of the East Coast,
right,
upper East Coast states. So you're allowed to fish for stripers from shore, but you're not allowed to fish for sharks.
North Carolina, there's certain sharks you're allowed to fish for, like sandbar style sharks they call them. I think there's like a list of sandbar sharks and like white or the black
tips and
stuff like that you're allowed to fish for. But in turn, while you're doing that, you sometimes catch non-sport fish like the sand tigers. You're not technically allowed to release or land great whites, which they just did for the very first time ever. Mm-hmm. Some yokel landed like a 1,400-pound
great white,
14.5-foot great white shark on the Outer Banks, which is wild but awesome. A lot of guys are catching hammerheads down there, leaving them in the water, releasing them. That's our ultimate goal, is to try and catch a hammerhead on accident. But yeah, it's just a strange thing. If you're a big game fisherman or surf fisherman out there right now, that they're having this war with, and it doesn't help that like Outdoor Life, which is one of the biggest publications out there and social media presence for outdoorsmen, has like advertised it, for lack of better terms, and then the government came in and said, "Hell no, you
came and shut it down."
That. So that was the last thing I wanted to talk about. Like I said, next week, I think we're going to try and finally get Dylan on here. Actually, Dylan was on a couple weeks ago, so I shouldn't say finally. But we're going to try and get Dylan on here to talk about his turkey hunting.
Hopefully, we'll have some turkey hunting stuff to talk about.
Depending on when we record. If we can record, which I'm assuming we're going to record Sunday. So
probably
next Sunday, we might be talking about the gobbler I killed, hopefully. So
cool.
We'll see, yeah. But I'm ready to shut this one down.
Yep,
if you want to buy these cameras, let us know. If you want to leave some snarky YouTube comments for me to repeat next week on the podcast, let me know.
Yeah, leave them. That's it?
I don't know. Yeah.
Is that 90? 89?
That's 90.
Deer Shot Podcast, episode 90.
Abrupt end.
And we are out.